Today we are going to dive deep into the secrets of Florida real estate that have been secrets and we've been keeping them.
Some of my own personal secrets.
Some of your own, and some of mine.
Real estate agent man.
And now your host, Steve Martin Smith.
You've got stuff going on around you right now that might distract you from this one. You might want to figure out how you can focus, because what we're going to talk about today is something that I've never heard anybody talk about but us, and I've never heard us talk about it except for in private conversations. So here we go. But I do want to say, because I'm looking at my podcast history here, for the 243 downloads that we've had recently in Europe, whoever you are that's listening to this podcast, thank you for listening. We are here today because I want to elaborate on one of the YouTube shorts I did recently. So, did a short a couple of weeks ago, and it was about a listing that we have that somebody came in and wrote an offer on it, and they wrote it on an as-is contract. And my seller was really not wanting to take an as-is contract because, we coach our sellers and buyers
On the different types of
the different types of contracts, right? So that would probably be the first thing for the listener. If you are shopping for a house and your agent isn't telling you you have two dramatically different contract options in the state of Florida that offer different features and benefits, then that agent is likely just choosing the one that provides less liability for their broker.
Which is what most brokers ask of their agents.
That is, most brokers want their agents to do their job in a way that
holds the least liability for them. Of course they do.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for finishing my sentence.
You're welcome.
Anyway, my sellers did not want the as-is contract. They wanted the standard contract, because the as-is is basically like putting a TV on layaway at Kmart, for those of you who remember,
Kmart?
Kmart, yeah. Yeah. Who remember Kmart? And putting things on layaway. Growing up in the 70s and 80s, parents would go in and be doing their Christmas shopping, and they'd pick this up for their kids and whatnot, and they'd put it on layaway, and they're making payments. And then if by some chance they ended up not wanting to continue on with it before they bought it, they might have a restocking fee, but they didn't have to buy it, and all was good.
They got their money back.
They got their money back except for the restocking fee. I think it was like 15% or something. So, people didn't tend to do that a whole lot. If you put it on layaway, no, you're probably going to want to buy the thing. But with houses, the as-is contract does the same thing, except the seller doesn't even get to keep 15%.
Oh yeah, no, you walk away free and clear. You don't like the color of the door. You changed your mind about the shape of the roof.
Right. Anything.
You just don't feel like it.
Right. You just don't feel like it. You get to walk away. The house goes back on the shelf. Mm-hmm. Now they got to try and sell it to somebody else after now it's showing as back on the market, and everybody's wondering, what
happened here?
What happened here?
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, this offer comes to me, and it had all kinds of flaws in the offer itself, besides being written on the as-is contract. And I even have in Realtor Remarks, seller prefers the standard contract.
I've done that too, but people just send the as-is contract.
Yes.
They don't even read the remarks.
Yeah.
They just...
Well, and so I had the guy, as he's talking to me about this offer that's coming in, I did let him know. I said, look, my job is to present all offers. My seller hasn't said they won't look at an as-is contract. So if that's what your buyer is telling you have to do, then go ahead and do it. And then we'll deal with it. And so it did come in, and my seller's like, well, if we're going to do that, then 2 days to inspect at the most. Right?
Okay.
So hurry up, call your inspector, make sure they can be out here in 2 days, because I'm only going to...
It's not unreasonable.
It can be done.
Yeah.
It can absolutely be done. Anyway, we ended up going forward with that. But in the process, I looked up that agent. They've been licensed for a little less than a year and have sold one house. Chances are this person doesn't know how to do anything other than an as-is contract.
Or their broker does not allow them to.
Yeah, well, then there's that too. So we're trying to get this thing moving along, and we finally did get it negotiated. It's under contract. Actually, I tried counter-offering on a standard contract.
I was surprised that you didn't.
I did.
Yeah.
I did the whole thing. I put it in writing. I said, look, they can have 15 days to inspect on a standard. Mm-hmm. We have no problem with that. If we could do this better, it'd be more secure for your people. And in fact, the seller would have to commit to making repairs if something was wrong with the house when they did inspections.
Right.
I explained that to them. It's like, so your buyers want this house unless there's something wrong with it that they can't see, right? He said, yes. I said, so they're about to spend $500 to $1,000 on inspections, right? Yes. Wouldn't it be nice to know, even if it's just $1,000 that the seller agreed to, that if there were $1,000 worth of things that the buyer found wrong, that the seller would have to fix it?
Yeah, and sometimes you can get a seller to agree to even more than that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've done $10,000, $15,000 in those things, but I'm saying is a bare minimum. With all that said, though, he could not sell. I'm not even sure he tried to sell the standard contract. So these people come down and they look at the house again and they change their mind.
Okay.
So I'm glad that we only gave them 2 days.
That's one of the biggest reasons why you only give those amount of days on an as-is contract.
Right.
You don't want your house just sitting off of the market. That's costing the sellers money too.
Yes. And the agent, one of the agents on this other person's team called me and said, when are you going to mark this pending? Like the next day. You're going to mark this pending today? And I said, well, I have 48 hours to mark it pending. And I'm not marking it pending until 48 hours is up. Because if they change their mind, my house will have never even shown that it was under contract.
Yes.
And therefore, we don't have that stigma of what was wrong with it.
Exactly.
Right? These are not things that people think about. It's not things that agents think about. It's not things that sellers think about. So then after our deal fell apart, I come to find out that those buyers got the house down the street under contract. And then they backed out of that one too.
Oh my gosh.
But that agent marked it pending as soon as she went under contract. So now that house shows back on the market. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the big reasons why I'm so against the as-is contract. People do an as-is contract with 15 days to inspect. So you're under contract for 15 days. You're off the market. Nobody's looking at your house.
2 days is reasonable, though. I mean, 2 days is totally reasonable because you don't have to mark it pending, and they still do have a little bit of time to think about it,
right,
and get an inspection done and all of that. I mean, if you're going to use an as-is contract, that's the way to go.
Yeah, yeah.
If you insist.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways to use the as-is contract that all parties can be okay with. But since, for anybody who has watched my market updates or listened to my market updates, I'm always talking about what percentage of houses that go pending go back on the market. That's like 25 to 35%, week after week after week after week after week. That is a huge amount of the houses that go pending that go back on the market. What do you think is the number one cause for those houses going back on the market? We will be right back with the obvious answer to that question right after this reminder to subscribe and leave a review for the Real Estate Agent Man podcast. There is so much to know about buying and selling a home that the masses are just not aware of. That is why we provide professional coaching to Florida's sellers and buyers on every episode and personally to every client. We want our customers to have the knowledge needed to make the best decisions possible for themselves and their families. Our real estate team personally covers Sarasota, Charlotte, and Manatee counties. However, Steve also interviews agents from around the state and the country to find great agents for customers out of our area. Visit stevemartinhomes.com for more information. And now, back to the podcast. What do you think is the number one cause for those houses going back on the market?
As-is contracts?
That would be correct. Yes, because people just change their mind.
And that's not what I think a lot of people consider, though, when they see it go back on the market. Like, even as somebody that's in this business, when I was looking for my own house and I've looked at several, and I see that the house is back on the market, one of the questions that goes in my mind is, why?
Right.
And you start overthinking it a little bit.
Yes.
It's if you can avoid that, that's clearly the best thing to do. Just don't even put the thought in their mind.
I know there are agents out there who will write multiple offers at the same time for the same buyer. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, I've done that several times.
Yeah.
If I'm a single agent for my buyer, I'm going to do everything I can for my buyer.
It's obedience within the law.
That's just the way it goes.
The law is set up to allow that to happen. We don't want to do it. You don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
I don't hate doing it. I really don't hate doing it. You want to know why?
Why?
Because I feel like I'm doing what's best for my customers.
Okay. Yeah, I see that.
And that's what's most important to me.
I see that. Yeah. So you're right. You want Nicole to be your buyer's agent.
Yeah, you do.
But, if a seller understood that accepting an as-is contract could be putting them in that situation to where they're just one of multiple offers that this person put. And think about it, they can all get accepted and that buyer has no repercussions for that.
Oh, I did this with somebody. I had 2 offers accepted, and I negotiated all of the repairs and the concessions and everything with both of them and let my buyer pick which one he liked better. They were thrilled. My buyer was thrilled.
And they could only get away with that because the seller allowed it.
Yeah, and it's not my responsibility to coach the seller's agent, the listing agent, on how to do their job properly.
That's right.
And also when we had a buyer-broker agreement as a single agent.
Yep.
Complete confidentiality.
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
not have to tell them I was doing that.
If you're not sure what she's talking about with complete confidentiality, yes, I'm talking to you, listener, driving in the car, walking your dog, or, maybe doing the dishes. Who knows? But that complete confidentiality, we hit on that in yesterday's podcast when we were talking about brokerage relationships, right? So you want to understand what the responsibilities are of your agent, and that is based on the brokerage relationship that you sign up with. If you don't sign a buyer brokerage agreement that specifies one of those, you are getting the transaction brokerage relationship, which means that
Nicole cannot do that for you.
Nicole, right. Yes.
And that's one of my favorite things about this job, to be 100% honest. That's where I focus all of my shark energy, just representing my people.
Okay. So you're not taking it out on me. You're representing your people. Good.
Yes, I'm very kind. Yes, I funnel it into very useful
Yes.
useful ways.
Yes.
Well, I've given a lot of information out loud that I don't typically share with the masses about my negotiation habits. I typically have kept this very close to myself. I really appreciate you having me on this podcast so that I could put it out there, and hopefully you found it enjoyable.
Oh, it was fun. Listen, you're so passionate about it, right?
I am.
You love what you do. You love helping your customers have a successful experience at the end of it when they're either moving on with their next dream because they were the seller. And a lot of times our sellers leave town, right? So we don't get to see them again. Our buyers, we certainly get to see a lot more because they just bought and they hang around. They come to our events, our parties at Finn's and whatnot, right? So, that's all good. But seeing how much you love doing what you do, being able to watch your customer base rave about you has been awesome for me.
Well, I mean, you did train me. I just kind of took it up a notch.
Yeah.
A little bit more aggressive. I don't know, maybe.
Well, yeah, it's the younger, more energetic version. So that's going to be it for today. Thank you, Nicole.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah.
And gals.
Wanna own a place like the ones you've seen, maybe near the beach or a golf course green. You're searching on the web and housing magazines. It's time you call Steve Martin Homes to reach your dreams. We sell Sarasota homes. We sell Sarasota homes. Sarasota area homes.
That is more on this topic than I've ever shared before. This is typically conversations that I have one-on-one with my customers
In secret.
in secret.
They've been nothing but thrilled
Right.
with the results. I had one guy walk away with $3,500 check written to him who was a buyer.
That's fun.
Yep, he had all of his closing costs paid. He was a veteran, so
Okay,
you know,
right.
had that done. I work very closely with the lenders, and we go back and forth, and I actually take into consideration a lot of their information when I'm writing the contracts and negotiating to sometimes even allow room for better interest rates for my buyers. And I did. I got him a better interest rate, and he walked out with $3,500 going to him at closing.